It's a lot of fun, believe me.
Color is gorgeous. What?
I went, your mic didn't turn on. Then it did. I was false. So
Yeah. This is live. If you didn't know, now you know. I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa. I'm going to show you how to watercolor this mouse step by step. Fully explained for beginners. I'm going to go from the drawing process. So I'm going to draw and paint the mouse in the tulip all the way through the process. I'm going to explain the materials, the techniques, everything I'm doing so that you can do this for yourself at home if you're learning how to paint. This is right now currently a live watercolor lesson, which will be available after the show. The disembodied voice is my husband and partner, John.
hello.
He helps me have this show by turning everything on and then not knowing if the mic is on or off. And making sure the camera is pointed at whatever it is that I'm doing in that moment so that you can create your own masterpiece at home, which is the whole point of why I have a YouTube show, so you can paint. Are you ready to do that?
I'm
Let's
ready.
do that. So I'm going to go over the materials and give you guys some new information. I'm going to tell you that I'm using Fabriano Artistico 140-pound paper. 300 GM, 140 pounds. Those are the terms that you're looking for in a pad of paper. I like cold press. I do like this brand. I am friends with folks over at Savoir Faire. And sometimes they send me pads of paper, and they sent me this one. So I'm letting you know that. But you guys know I go online and buy it. Either way, because that's what I like. This is a block. And what that means is that all of the sheets of paper are glued together, and then there's just this little opening, and that lets the paper stretch itself as it dries. We're going to do this in a vertical today. I'm going to be doing this probably with one brush. I'm going to use the Raphael Soft Aqua. I've got a couple watercolor pencils out and a graphite pencil. The colors that I have on my palette today are the colors I have every day. Payne's Gray, Nickel Azo Yellow, Hansa Yellow Medium, Pyrrole Red, Quinacridone Magenta, Ultramarine Blue, Phthalo Blue, Opera Pink, Transparent Pyrrole Orange, Burnt Umber, Quinacridone Gold, and Phthalo Green. I don't always use every color, every class, but these are the colors that I'm using for the year of 2021, which lets you, if you're painting along with me regularly, invest in your palette or find your paint. Doesn't have to be the same brand, doesn't have to be the same stuff, but that way I'm staying consistent. It helps you at home. If you check the description below, the materials are there. And after the show, I'm going to create a traceable that you can transfer onto your paper so you don't have to draw if you're not ready to draw. It's okay to not be ready to draw. We're not all ready to draw. You guys figure out what service works better for you at what given time. I'm going to use the reference to kind of help design my interesting little tulip that I have here. This is really all about the mouse, so I will probably be focusing mostly on him. I'm using pink. Hopefully you can see that just a little bit on the pad.
I think that fixed it.
Did you fix it?
I think so.
That's like literally what you're supposed to do is fix it. If you weren't aware of that.
Is that what
I'll draw that a little bit stronger so you can see that go in, the shapes. It won't hurt me or the final piece.
I think you're mocking.
So I'm trying to make an ample amount of room to be able to put the mouse in here. And then on the other part of the tulip, this little petal kind of curves out and does a neat little roll up. And I really like its little frill. I'm going to be honest. The frill works for me. And so I'm going to make a big point of including its frill. Even though it has a little petal there and perhaps another little petal hidden here. Now it's got a great stem coming off, and I like how on tulips that they kind of have a green to pink stem, and so I'm definitely going to play into that. Let's bring this down here. Again, I'll make a traceable from my drawing for you. Sometimes people like that because that means that they have exactly what I did. And who doesn't like that? Now the mouse, he's a cutie patootie. He's going to be right here, and his little nose is peeking out for us at this bit. It's a little off center, which I love. A lot of his face is not in our view, but we do get to see his beautiful little seed eye. I love their little seed eyes. Some people do not like mice. I disagree with this. But, you know, maybe you don't want them in your house, and that is super reasonable.
That is reasonable.
I'm going to add a little ear here. And I like his little round body, so I'll definitely continue that. And one of the things that I thought was super charming about him was the tail coming down, so I'm going to keep the tail in that beautiful little curve. That's sort of how I freehand things. Kind of looking at what I see and then trying to make sure that I have the basic construct lines that will allow me to paint something in. Now on my palette I have nickel Azo here, and I have a little burnt umber, and I have Phthalo Green, I have my Quinacridone Gold. I have some extra little Pyrrole Orange right here, my Opera Pink. There's some Magenta, Pyrrole Red, Ultramarine, Phthalo Blue, and Hansa Yellow Medium. And I'm letting you know what those extra colors are because sometimes I'll work out in the palette, and that way you have a sense of what I'm doing. I'm going to take my number 14 round Raphael Soft Aqua, and I'm going to begin by kind of pre-wetting the stem. You can see because I used watercolor pencil, that blends very nicely overall into that. And I'm going to come up here with my, I'm going to start with my nickel Azo because I think that gold is quite nice. And I'm going to bring it up into the tulip a bit. Who doesn't love that? Then I'm going to grab my Phthalo Green and a little Quinacridone Gold because I love them together so much. Then into my nickel Azo. Kind of come down my stem a bit. That. And because this is wet and this is wet, these can blend together quite softly. If I come on the toe of my brush, I can blend them there. And another thing that I can do is I can come get a little of my magenta. And while I'm here, kind of put a little hint of that in. And I'm hinting at the magenta into the stem.
Mm-hmm.
This is nice because often stems will have a hint of the color of the flower in them. That can be quite nice to do. I'm going to come up to the top of my leaf on the tip of my brush, and then as I come down, I'm going to press down. The firmer pressure on my brush thickens the stroke. I have not pre-wet this, and because nothing is wet, it's really staying quite contained. Only where my brush stroke is. Just there. That's lovely. Isn't that just lovely?
Mm-hmm.
The tulip is a lot of fun, and I'm going to do a couple of things here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just a little of my quinacridone. I might let a little of my Hansa Yellow Medium get into it, and we're going to put out a bit of a very light color. Lighter than the overall flower that we're going to be painting later, because I am going to do a few water drops, and this will help that.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Hmm.
Mama Moth asks,
Hi, Mama Muff. How are you today?
how do you get watercolor to stop beading on your palette?
Stop beading. That's why I use a porcelain. That's the whole kick on porcelain. There was a really good tip in the watercolor group to use, you know, those magic erasers, to take a metal one and hit it with the magic eraser and scuff it up a bit. Helped there. So if you had the metal one with the coating, that helped that one from beading. I imagine it would do it on the plastic too. On this, the porcelain tends to allow this to be that way, which is rather nice. I like that about it, you know? Very much. I'm going to leave a little hiss of white that I'll talk about later. Again, this is a very light color. This is the beginning. We paint lighter to darker in watercolor. And you are not alone, by the way, if you're having your water like beat up. But plastic does it the worst on plastic, and it gets better if you scuff the surface. Scuff your surfaces. Gonna be precious around his little paw. And remember, you can come and you can always lift back a little color with a damp brush that's clean. You've always got a second to sort of work that out. Just a little bit there. Look at that.
Wow. I like the little mouse in there.
I'm very fond of the little mouse. I'm going to come in with just a little bit of a slightly darker green. And the glaze over here, there's a bit of a nice shadow I thought was happening in the leaf, and I definitely want to show that. Sometimes that's nice to see. Maybe a little burnt umber and green. And glaze here. Glazing is when the paint underneath is dry and you come over it with a color that's a little bit transparent and it sort of layers up like cellophane. I really like it in watercolor. It's one of my favorites. I'm going to take this moment and get some of my Payne's gray out and start the eye. Now, I will probably do white dots for both the water drops and the eye with acrylic paint. At the end, you can use gouache or a jelly pen for that final technique. I begin the eye with this very light gray, and you can see I let it sort of be darker on that little outer edge. And come here and add a little bit of dark in. A little bit of dark in, a little more. And again, we're going to be putting some white back with our acrylic. Going to take my Ultramarine Blue and a little of my Quinacridone. Let's make a very deep purple.
That's where he's hiding.
Just a little bit to show that there's a shadow.
Got it.
Just a little deep shadow for a sweet little mouse. I'm going to grab a little of the burnt umber and some of the nickel azo together. While I'm here, I'm going to try to create a nice little tail. I'm going to use some of this color up on Mr. Mousy. This is initially a light color because, again, as we mentioned, we like to go light to dark. Sometimes I'll pick up color and come back and sort of pick it up. And then I will put it back down. I'm going to grab some magenta. Put a little at the ear and a little at the nose. Come back and pick some up. See, I'm picking it back up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit at that little pink spot. I'm going to grab my burnt umber, and I really like my Quinacridone Gold. I do so much. I'm going to let some of the, I'm going to work this while it's still a little wet and wet, but I'm going to come and kind of do the ends, and I'm working the tail, like the toe of my brush to get these little fur bits, and this is about just sort of curving and having these very light, delicate little strokes to the outer edge. Just a little bit on the edge there. So even though all these little fur strokes will absolutely soften and blend into him, it's still nice to hit them now if one can. Quite dark there, so I'm going to bring that back. That was still my Quinacridone Gold. Just a little bit of personality in Mr. Mousel.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of the brown. You can even get a little Payne's gray into that. Come under that part of the tail. Stroke just a little bit of that darker color. Doesn't hurt anything. A little bit here. Maybe a little bit behind the ear where we know. And let's blend a bit with our brush. See, I'm softening that.
Mm-hmm.
And that just creates a little softness to that. And we're going to let that have a rest. We're going to let it have a thing.
A thing.
I'm going to take my, now this particular one, this is a Cretacolor Studio Line brush. And I also have some Grand d'Ache ones out here. I probably will be balancing between, you know, these. You can see they're in similar colors. We're going to take our pencil and make some water drops. Not as many as we have here. I like to showcase some focal ones. It can be nice to give this a little drop. And if you know where it is, then you can preserve the light color as you paint. These are little irregular shapes. Big ones and small ones. It's a nice way to go. Back into my brush. I'm not going to paint in where I have those water drops. I'm going to grab my quinacridone, but it has a little bit of ultramarine in it, which takes it just a bit to the, more to this burgundy color. Maybe a little, the roll that's here that I like so much on this petal. They're stroking back. Just give that a little stroke back. See, I'm doing these little lines.
Huh. Okay. Amy's got a good question.
Hi, Amy. How are you doing today?
Would you be so kind as to ask Cinnamon a question?
Well, he would be that kind, yes.
If she's ever seen a picture of a pink robin.
I have not.
They reside in Australia, and their feathers are opera pink.
Oh my gosh. Australia has all this cool stuff, don't they?
Jumping spiders and jack ants and
opera pink robins.
Opera pink
wow.
robins.
That's so cool, though.
They have the coolest of the creatures.
They have some cool stuff
Many
there.
marsupials.
I gotta tell you, that sounds
That pouched creatures.
pretty amazing. I don't know. Send me a picture. That is awesome.
They also have some pretty
So
cool mountains.
That's some nice, you know.
Deserts. Actually, Australia I want to go to Australia. Can we do that?
Yes, we need to actually.
Just go there.
We need to go.
The only
We
thing
have a
that-
lot of community there, and I would like to go on a visiting tour when the world opens back up. I'd like to also hit Europe and Canada. Right now, we have an event in the Poconos, and if you want to come meet us for free on Sunday at the Shawnee Inn in the Poconos, we're gonna have a meetup there, free. I don't know if we have any spots left on the retreat at all.
You know what we have, I think?
Just adding that deep shadow.
I think that there's, for the current one, this upcoming one, maybe one. It's like, I think we could, we call it. In either case, if you're interested in coming, just go to our website and we will talk to the hotel and make accommodations if you're interested in going. So,
I'm gonna come here and sort
I
of
don't
blend
know.
this. Thank you. That's good. It was a good explanation.
I don't know exactly how many we have left, but if you're interested, we have folks who can help you figure that out.
Just want this to be sort of soft. I might come back, just kind of stroking this down so that's like rolling that back. Sometimes I will come through and I'll take like a paper towel. And if you haven't done this, you can lift a bit where you need to lift. See? You need to put some back. And take my little watercolor pencil here and darken that where the drops are going to be a little darker as they are. There we go. We're just going to keep painting those runs of colors through here. This is a darling, wonderful. Here, we're just going to let it be quite pink at the tip. There's no need to get any more than that with that. Darken the petal. And see, we're also letting the mouse dry. And if it's not possible for you to travel right now or say, hi, we're going to keep doing them. We understand that there are some areas that are closed down or it's not possible for people to travel. And so we're just going to make sure that when we do retreats that we have those open community days. You guys can just come meet us if it's not possible to come to a painting event. I'm going to take a little bit of my nickel Azo Yellow. Come here and kind of, it's like sort of an orange. Bring that up a bit. Yeah, you might want to, like, hey, you can always hang back and be like, how do the people who went like it? Hopefully it's going to be fun. We've got watercolor and acrylic. I'm excited about that.
I am looking forward to it a lot.
John really is. Of course, for us, that's like when we get to leave the house.
I mean,
going to use more Quinn here as I move forward.
not for nothing. The reason we moved to Pennsylvania was because they have a beautiful, like, nature outdoor scene. And Houston does not. And you can go outside here and it's just beautiful nature everywhere. Like, my backyard just grows flowers everywhere.
Just
like
so many flowers.
Just everything is flowers. And so the Poconos is all flowers everywhere. Like, there's gardenias and lilacs and just flowers I didn't even know
existed.
existed.
It was like wild foxglove. It was
everywhere.
just sitting out in the weeds, this foxglove. I was like, I made everybody stop and look at it by the Shake Shack. I'm like, it's wild foxglove. So I'm pulling it more in the magenta, and I've gone the orange. It's going into the magenta, just letting you guys know what I'm doing here.
So yes, I am super excited to going to a grown-up retreat where we experience some painting and space humor culture. And, you know,
If things get better, we're even looking at doing a French one in years from now. Not a quick turnaround because it takes a couple years to plan those. We're hoping to do one where we get to go tour paint factories.
oh, yes. I like paint factories.
So it's just the magenta still. Not just better than anything, isn't it? What painting? So I just like my little watercolor journey. I won't lie to you. I really like it. I get back into my ultramarine for my deeper color. Come along here. This little edge. I'll pull that more magenta back. Where the petal is sort of folded, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Added a little bit of the magenta on that inside flower, and I'm going to come back with that and just kind of pop that a bit. So if you, I boo-booed.
Did you?
Yeah. That up a bit. If you watch my acrylic channel, for which I'm also very chatty and paint for a long time, you'll know that I'm a little bit about TV.
Sometimes.
You might have noticed. So if you guys are wondering, is there anything going on in her life? Yeah, Loki. Loki's definitely going on in my life.
There's a lot of Loki.
Very excited. The hole that WandaVision left was really bothering me. You know, I've got no the Mandalorian, and because the Mandalorian has had drama, you know, now there's a question if it's going to continue on. And I have to tell you, as a fan, I just want them to continue on. I'm going to be honest. I just want them to continue on. I don't care about the drama. Just keep going. Just keep going. You know, and they're so funny. They're like, I don't know if we can recast. Recast. I don't care. Recast. I don't care. Just go. Just, I want more baby. I didn't show up for the humans. I showed up for the don't fire the puppet guy. That's who you don't let go. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Don't fire the puppet guy. So I'm going to continue this on, and I've got this below him. That's what's been happening in my life.
I have to say.
Just bring a little bit of that down for the drop.
The little drops, I love them.
That one really doesn't take a lot. And here's the thing, guys, on drops. The ones that drip down, they're just reverses of the stuff around them. And you just got to basically get, I don't know, whatever color's happening around them, in them, and they'll be okay. Look at that go. My tulip is so tulip. And anywhere you feel like it's looking kind of rough, it will continue to soften, but anywhere you feel things are rough, you can come back with a damp brush and look, you can soften it. See how you can just keep softening it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's your choice. Do I allow this to be very expressive and have a little moment, or do I want to come in and... Is there more afoot? No pun intended.
Oh.
There we go. So it's got a little bit of a thing happening down here. There we go. Now he's tucked in. Who doesn't love this? I don't know. Probably somebody on YouTube, and you can give me a little thumb. You know how you are.
Mhm.
All right. Now, I'm going to keep working my water drops. I'm going to make some very dark, shadowy water drop colors. And I may put out some more magenta. Let's put out, this is Quinacridone Magenta from the Core line. I have several different paint companies that I like. They're all awesome. Try not to paint with stuff that's going to aggravate me. I make a good purple. I'm going to get on the toe of my brush. I'm going to make sure my hand is not too dirty. I might even put a bridge down here, which is my paper.
Ah.
I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow to the far side. Water drops are really about where you put the reflections in the shadow. They have an interesting lensing effect. I've done some, I've got like 10 steps on how to do a water drop. It's like 10 minutes, 10 steps. Pretty entry level stuff. There we go. Now, where the front side of the water drop will be lighter, the back side will have a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Put that in real quick. And then when we hit the reflections is where it all comes together. So if I have this shadow here, the cast shadow here, I put a darker area to the back of the drop.
I see.
And then there's the lightest area of the drop is towards the cast shadow side. As you can see, it's starting to be drops. When I hit it with the white highlights, it's going to be super droppy.
Oh, yeah.
So droppy, man.
So droppy.
Just a little bit at his nose, because, you know, the nose knows. I'm going to take a little bit of this magenta and I'm going to get it into this brown here. Interesting kind of weird color. I come underneath. Is the fan too loud? I just want a little bit of kind of a magenta shadow coming off here. That's nice when the surrounding stuff sort of reflects on him. A little bit of the Payne's gray and little hairs through him. A little glazing over. That little cowlick going on, doesn't he? A little bit of shadow on his little foot. His little foot. I'm going to get some of my Quinacridone Gold, which I adore. I think I will lightly glaze around the eye with it. Over here and sort of just brush through some of these little hair textures. There he is. He's just feeling so mousy. He couldn't be more mousy if he tried.
Super mousy.
So mousy. Get into my nickel Azo Yellow, which is this wonderful stuff here. A very transparent color, and I like it quite a lot. Find this little ear. Orange here. From underneath. Leave a little bit of that. Just fun to kind of come in and see where he is. Shadow from the flower on top of him for sure, right? Now he's super fluffy. He's super fluffy. My brush is a little dry here. I like to deepen that. Maybe deepen a little portion of his ear. And behind the little ear as well. Back hairs. This is a very dry brush right here. A bunch of different places with a dry brush. Behind, we're going to get it back to our water drops, and we're going to make sure that the whole thing has the drama. Dynamic drama, because I feel like this piece comes together with the water drop. Does that make sense, John?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the drama. I do want to come back into his little ear. Maybe just a little pink. Little pink it is now. How I do my acrylic is I'm going to put it on my palette. This is the Golden Fluid acrylic. I really like it. You can use craft paint. You can use any paint. You can use a jelly pen. You can use gouache. You just need something opaque. I'm going to use a brush for acrylic that is also for detail. This is a #1 monogram liner. It's seen better days. I'm going to come in and get a little bit on my put some little white dots on here. A little at the back, a little at the front. See how we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Get little water drops going. little bit of reflection. Strong one on his eye. Something to help increase that drama. Come here and add some little white whiskers. Little highlight along the top of the ear.
Mm.
Okay to do a few little hairs there. Now, generally, you will see some structural induced discoloration through this, which just means that some of the pigment may come up through the gouache or the acrylic just a little bit and change its color some. And that's okay. A little bit on the nose there. I find these little things help the pop. I'll come here and a little bit of reflection to the flower there. And perhaps there's some, kind of adding those little streaks there. There, we're just putting a few little bit in here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a dry brush, just a little detail bit until you're happy. And then when you have it where you like it, I'm going to go ahead and grab, I guess, some brown.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to come here and give this a little signature. I'll let it dry on my paper because then it's going to have the ability to like continue to stretch and flatten out. And I think this would look really nice in a couple double matted or triple matted frame where you have some colored mats that pull the color from the flower. It's a good reason. If you're not familiar with doing that yourself, you can always go to a framer and they can help you pick matting and molding. Or you can go to places like Michael's, which has ready to frame, and you can pick those things out yourself. And it's always okay to bring your artwork into a place and see how it looks in a molding or how it looks with a mat, in case you didn't know. Now, we're going to be at the retreat. But you will still get art. In fact, you're going to get a lot of art this week, so be sure and hit the subscribe button. There is a couple really fun paintings come up. There's a very beginner-friendly little floral in a vase that's not very long. I'm going to show you my favorite trick for painting a cat. It's the coolest cat. It's one of my coolest watercolor tricks that I do, and I'm going to share it with you.
It sneaks up on you.
It does sneak up on you very much like a cat. I hope you enjoyed today's painting, and I cannot wait to see you the rest of the week. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I want to see you at an easel real soon.